Let's say you have a full metal mix running with punchy drums and fat sounding guitars and a distorted bass. Something like this. And let's say you need to integrate some additional tracks. This could be percussion, orchestral elements like strings and choirs, or maybe synthesizers. That is really, really difficult. Why? Because it's already so fucking dense. That mix is already filled up. We've got like very punchy drums, like kicking through the mix. We've got distorted guitars polluting the mix. Distorted guitars are basically filtered white noise. They're covering the entire frequency range. Maybe except for the lowest octave, but you know what? We've got a bass guitar, distorted bass guitar, covering that. So it's really, really difficult to integrate additional tracks and to make them audible. And one important thing that I have learned is that especially the drums and the guitars define the character, the sound of your mix. And you can't really change them. You can't make the drums punch less, or you can't make the guitar smaller, because that's going to make your mix sound less metal, less hard and heavy. That's going to take away the character and the power of the music. You can do some automation, you can do some little tweaks, but you know what? You gotta leave the main character of those tracks untouched. Instead, you gotta heavily tweak, heavily process everything that's coming in. The percussion, the strings, the choirs, the synthesizers. Why? Because those additional tracks typically don't define the essence of a metal track. The heaviness, the power. And the three weapons I typically use to make additional tracks sit right in a metal mix are, first of all, compression, make them as undynamic as possible. Second, EQ. You want to get rid of a lot of low frequencies and you want to boost the upper mids to make them cut through. And thirdly, if that is not enough, the ultimate choice is saturation, distortion, additional overtones to make those tracks shine and to kick through the already dense mix that we have. And in this MELECHESH song, we had a lot of oriental percussion tracks that we recorded here in the studio that needed to be integrated into the metal mix. And there's one main part with percussion here. You can see the tracks in blue. And let's just have a listen to it. And I'm gonna solo the tracks here and there so you know what we're talking about. So there's a lot going on, and it kind of blends nicely with the main metal drums. Here in the end, we even have the drums plus two different percussion loops. Let's hear the drums with the percussion. And then it goes back into heavy metal mode. And I want to start with this main percussion track because it has the most extreme processing, this one here. So let's solo this track and have a listen. So this is a stereo overhead recording, and you see we've got three main plugins here. Let me just bypass them all. So this is the raw sound. I'm pretty sure you're not going to hear it in the mix. And even if I make it louder, it will sound too boomy, too indirect, and too dynamic. So let's see what I did here. I started with an 1176. Doing quite a lot here. Let's bypass it a few times. So that's already going into the right direction. By the way, very slow attack time, at least for an 1176, and the fastest release. So that's how I start, trying to get it as undynamic as possible. And then I went into an EQ doing 2 or 3 very typical moves here. One is like cutting the low end, so there's a low cut filter, and there's an additional cut here, actually at the main resonant frequency of that drum. Because we don't really need any more low end, any more tonal information here, boom, boom, boom. We just want the more percussive higher frequencies. And that's why I boosted 3K here. And 3K is not exactly a beautiful sounding frequency, but you know what? That area between, let's say, 2 and 4K, which sounds very aggressive and where the human ear is very sensitive, really works nicely to make a track cut through a mix. So that's why I'm boosting here. Let's bypass the EQ one more time. It doesn't sound better exactly, but we've shaved it to fit better into the mix. Next plugin, and now we're getting extreme. I told you it's about compression, EQ, but also saturation. I'm going into a multiband saturation plugin called Lyra Multiband MB from Klanghabitat, and you've got 4 different bands, and I'm saturating everything except for the low end here. The most saturation, again, is in the upper mids between, what is this, 750 and 4K. So let's bypass this. So especially this. You hear the distortion here, the overtones, that helps to make the track cut through. So this is full saturation, full intensity. In the highs, it's a little less. And still some saturation here in the lower mids. Just the bass is untouched. Now, let's bypass all plugins again and turn them on one by one. And now you suddenly can hear that track, and especially the higher mids cut through. Let's move on to the next track. This is the opening percussion loop here. And it doesn't have to be that extreme. Why? Because we have less tracks playing along. But let's have a look what I've done here. First of all, kind of like the same treatment with the EQ. Less of the oomph and more of, this time it's 5K. And then we're going into a group because I was sending some other percussion tracks into that group as well. Percussion group. There is another EQ, kind of doing the same thing one more time. And now it's getting interesting again because here we see Lyra again. This time only adding some kind of to the upper mids. But a lot more natural sounding than before. Why? Because we need less of the processing because the arrangement is less dense here. And then we're going into a very extreme compression. This is Devil-Loc from Sound Toys. Have a listen. And that really pulls like every hit in your face. We're doing parallel compression here. It's 50-50. Let's just turn off and bypass those plugins. I'll leave the limiter on and you will see you're probably not going to hear it in the mix anymore. Nice. So once again, cutting the lows, boosting the upper mids and the highs, extreme compression, and some upper mid saturation. Let's have a look at another track, this one here, which is also going into the percussion group. So it's getting the same treatment we just talked about. This track here. Look at this EQ. That's quite extreme. So here I was also cutting some highs. Guess I didn't like that clicky high end. But again, boosting 3K, cutting some of the lows. And then, and this is more something creative, I added this Valhalla echo. So without. And now you can clearly tell this was probably cut out of a performance. So I kind of used and abused this echo to, you know, get a stable connection between the single hits. And you know what? In case you're wondering what that is, the guys actually forgot that here. Look at this. I can't even remember how you play this. Or no. Maybe you know. But this thing is making this sound here. And maybe it's coming back up here. Oh yeah, this time with the high frequencies in the full mix. Different EQ here without cutting the highs. And then we've got some automation going as well. What you see here is the volume automation, level automation of our first percussion loop here. Doesn't need to be loud in the beginning, again, because the arrangement is rather thin. Then over here, the more distorted percussion track takes over. And then I wanted it to come back, to return in the very end. You remember doing the palm mutes, and it needed to be much louder. Let me just take away the automation. This is the difference. What is that? Going from 23 to 3. That's almost 20 dB louder. So sometimes it's not only heavy processing, like heavy compression, heavy EQing, heavy saturation. Sometimes you just need to simply boost the volume 20 dB. But what I'm trying to tell you is don't be afraid of processing additional tracks like this. It's the same with synthesizers. I usually distort the shit out of them. I boost a lot of the upper mids. I cut a lot of the lows, even if that makes them sound a little thin and a little edgy on their own. But whatever makes them fit into a metal mix is the right thing to do, because again, coming back to the beginning, the overall character of a metal mix is not defined by those additional tracks. It's defined by the drums and by the guitars. So you need to keep those main tracks as big as possible. I mean, you can do some automation, you can pull out some frequencies, but you can't do any extreme processing because the metal ear will tell you, hey, that's wrong, okay? But let's just revisit my main guitar tracks for a second, just to show you the contrast here. We have so much processing on the percussion tracks and almost nothing on the guitars. So this is my main pair of rhythm guitars. And this is all I'm doing. And that's all I got going on here. Just reducing the sizzle up here and a slight boost of 1 dB at 300. And the other pair of guitars, the darker sounding pair of guitars, has zero processing. So what I'm trying to tell you is, first of all, of course, I paid attention to getting the tones right already during the recording session, so I don't have to tweak them a lot later. But even if you end up using some EQ on the guitars, it's never gonna be as extreme like what we did to our percussion tracks down here. All right, I hope this was interesting. You know what? You can get the multitracks of this song, the multitracks of the MELECHESH song yourself. You can mix the song and even watch me mixing, walking you through all the tracks. And that is a lot of fun. Follow the link below. There is a nice mixing course called the MELECHESH Mixing Ritual, which includes the original multitracks and all the videos of me showing you what I did there. So check it out. Or, and that is always the best option, you just become a member of Kohle Audio Kult, and from day one you can get your fingers on so many great multitracks and mixing courses from me and other colleagues. You can mix bands like Motorhead, Carcass, Slaughter to Prevail, Opeth, and many more. You can record drums with no other than Adam Nolly Get Good. You can learn how to master metal with Ermin Hamidovic, and there's endless courses right now. The cool thing about Kohle Audio Kult and the membership is you join, and on day one you get everything we have ever released, also including the MELECHESH course. Check it out, link below. Thanks for watching. I see you as usual deep down in hell, motherfuckers. Bye bye.